So I've been sharing quite a bit about intentions over the last two vlogs. I'd like to talk a little bit about intention and attention. Attention, this is where the energy sits. There's a beautiful saying, wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. So let's look at this. In the morning, you get in your car, you're heading off to work. Without any conscious awareness of how you're working with your attention, it can be distracted totally. And our mind has these built-in filters, and when we are not aware, these filters could be focusing on what we're used to. So for example, in the traffic, if you're used to getting angry all the time, your mind filters out all the other good stuff, and you'll end up focusing on the bad drivers, the traffic that's in front of you. And what does this do to your energy? Well, when you get to your workplace, you feel drained. And in fact, we use energy in most of our language. How are you feeling after you've been with people who are complaining all the time? You feel drained. How do you feel after you've been blaming and complaining? Well, you feel drained. You feel tired. But how do you feel when you've done something you've loved doing, a task that you really enjoy doing, and you've completed that task? You feel excited. You feel energized. So feeling, when we say I'm feeling, really we're talking about energy. Our body thrives on energy. We have to eat energy. Food is energy, whether it's meat-based, plant-based. Ultimately, it came from light, which itself is energy. When you are speaking, you are using energy. It comes out in waveforms. When we are listening, again, it's energy that's coming in through our ears, the vibrations, which are being translated into what I'm saying. It is all about energy. So as you set yourself up for something in the year ahead, whatever it is, it's going to require your energy. To build and create requires energy. So it is so important. What our intentions do is it helps us focus our attention and the related energy. It helps focus it on specific areas that we really require to pay attention to. And it helps us limit the distractions that are around us. And over the next few vlogs, maybe we'll look at specific areas where we can be distracted. But for now, take for example an intention. An intention might be, in the workplace, I'd like to connect more with my work colleagues. That allows us to pay more attention to becoming more connected with them. Whereas if we didn't, for example, what might happen if you don't have an intention around your work colleagues, you go in and you might find that because the one person that you work with, you find particularly annoying all the time. What happens is, without attention, the brain will filter out all the good stuff they do, so they'll keep on annoying you. Whereas if you have this intention to maybe connect more with your work colleagues, including that one, what might happen is you actually start noticing those filters that block out the good stuff, and you might start seeing the good work they do. So as we set intentions, what we are really doing is we are being mindful of how we spend our energy through our attention. And yes, it requires that we check in daily on what is happening with our attention. There is so much in this world, especially as we're working with this crazy world of the fourth IR, as I've spoken about it before, where everything's pretty volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And that can be in our personal lives too. If we are not paying conscious awareness around how we are spending our attention through the day, we can be so distracted, and that can take us away from what we really want out of life. For me, one of my intentions, as I mentioned before, was to become more peaceful, less reactive. Well, that requires that I check in on a daily basis to see where's my attention going. So I'm very mindful, for example, of TV, news. Bad news sells. There's never been really great news out there because that's the industry. It doesn't mean I stick my head in the sand and I don't pay attention to what's happening in the world. But what I am doing in this moment is I'm not just listening to the news all day, every day, because what that can train my brain to think is that there's mostly bad stuff happening out there, and that will disrupt my feeling of peace and tranquility and make me more reactive. What I'm doing is I'm selectively going at a point in time during the day, okay, now I'm going to pay attention to what's happening in the news just to see what's happening. But I'm consciously aware of my behavior towards it, and I don't spend too long on it. I really don't spend more than a few minutes checking in to see what's happening. So it really does help to be very mindful of your attention. Here's a basic exercise I work with. It's the car exercise. When you're going into work, it's your energy, it's early on in the day. Pay attention to what's happening around you with the intent of having maybe a more enjoyable journey to work. So pay attention to what is happening with your thoughts. Are you already creating a horrible scenario for the day ahead where you imagine you're going into a meeting and there's an argument? Or are you reacting to the drivers around you, which you can't change anything about them? That's just a waste of energy. You're giving it all the energy to a bunch of drivers who aren't paying attention or don't care what you think. And instead you start maybe paying attention to some good music that you've got in the car. Maybe avoid the news in the morning, those 3 minutes updates, unless you're wanting to hear what's happening with the traffic. But pay attention to what you can find that does work, that adds to the beauty of the journey. It might be a scenery, it might be a sunrise or a sunset, whatever it may be. Consciously be mindful of how you're paying attention, and just see as you do this. As I say, we'll do way more exercises around this and maybe more specific stuff that can distract us and how we can work around it. But for now, be mindful of your attention, and if you've got that intention in place, be mindful of how your attention will support you towards delivering on your intention. And through this process, you might even reclaim so much more energy and you'll feel so much more vitalized. And yes, then you're in a better position where you'll start creating and developing something for yourself that you've never created before, that you haven't taken time out for yourself to maybe build and grow for you. So those are some thoughts. There'll be way more around this later on. Until we chat again, take care and stay aware.